that's coming up. Lovely to have your company, everyone. We're going to show you someone now, and the moment you see him, you'll smile. Except it's a sad smile today because Ewen Gilmour died this morning. He'd done a show last night. It had gone really well, we've been told. He'd had a beer afterwards, gone home, gone to bed, and for reasons that aren't yet clear, he simply didn't wake up. So many people love that man. So we went down to the Classic Comedy and Bar on Queen Street, where he'd performed so many times, and his friends told us all about Ewen.
He's just such a good dude, you know, and I know everyone always says that of people that have died, but he was just a really nice dude. Like when I just met him, the first time I met him, he just came up to me, gave me the biggest bear hug, and he went, "Hi, I'm Ewen," and that's it. We were friends from that day on. I mean, what a nice way to meet someone, not, you know, "Hi, my name." No, he just came up, gave me a big hug, and I went, "Who's this?" And "I'm Ewen." And that's it. And he was my friend.
I was privileged because I got to see Ewen's very first gig. I've done two shows. It was 1994. It was a stand-up comedy competition out in South Auckland at Cobb & Co in Manukau.
This is early 90s, I guess. There was Mike King, who was the Māori, and Ewen, who was the Westie, and I was the girl.
He loved travelling, he loved meeting people, and the people he met never forgot him. And I would get in his bus, which had a little bed in the back. It was great. It was this great bus. We'd go on tour. He'd be driving. He loved it. He loved touring. And he'd stop in all the little cities. And the reason he stopped was not because he wanted a drink or he wanted some food. He just wanted his plumber to come up and go, "Hey, it's the Westie guy." And of course, I had my own ego going on, going, "Well, why isn't anyone coming up to me?" But Ewen would always say, to his credit, "Hey, do you know this guy as well?" And they would go, "No." And I'd be devastated. I'd be devastated.
I gigged with him 2 weeks ago, and it was a wonderful moment where we'd been talking backstage about when you do stand-up and sometimes you forget what jokes you've told and you end up telling the same joke twice. And anyway, at the end of his gig, I was watching him and he got to the end and then he started to convulse with laughter. It was one of those laughs, he was so entertained by the idea of what he was about to do, and his whole body was shaking as he told a joke he'd already told right at the end of his set, just for us backstage. Purely, the audience thought he'd lost his marbles, and he just seeing him convulse and enjoy that in-joke so much, I thought was very Ewen. It was a wonderful moment. He'll be sadly missed, that man.
He lit up, he had this amazing wide with this amazing warmth when he was on stage, you know, and I can still see him, you know, even he used to get impressed with himself, you know. He'd sit there and he'd tell his joke and the head would nod and I'd go, "That's you, and even you know you're good."
And he was authentic. He was exactly who he was. He was the Westie, and he lived it and breathed it and wore it and tattooed it.
Ewen was notorious for some tattoos. And I can't mention on the mainstream news the bits of his anatomy that he might have had tattooed.
He had a tattoo on his member, for goodness sake.
This is the sort of man he was. He loved doing things and he loved shocking people.
I'm not sure if you want people to know, but a lot of people did know. We certainly saw it at the Classic many times.
I think people that have come down to the Classic today to talk to you, testimony to the depth of feeling in the comedy community for him. And I just wonder, will you do this for me when I go? Because I know it's about Ewen, but I just wondered, you know, comparatively, will there be a similar thing? It'd be nice to think there would be. And I could get up to heaven and say to Ewen, "Oh mate, John just bought one camera for yours. I had a full studio." Just ideas, just ideas.
He's a good, kind, caring person. You know, the first person who would have phoned me today to see if I was okay because Ewen had died would have been Ewen. He would have phoned me up to say, "Are you doing all right?" He's that guy.
A genuinely big loss, because a great comic, a great man, and a genuine legend of the New Zealand comedy industry, in my opinion. I mean, and I'm right. Yeah.
He had this dog, and the dog was, you know, it was an electric rat. It used to just jump around and do all of these things, and you know, and someone asked Ewen, you know, "Why don't you train the dog?" And he said, "Because I just want the dog to be happy." That's Ewen.
The stuff I've been thinking about today is the warm, friendly family stuff. He got on really well with my daughter when she was really little.
He's just so cool, man. And like, he would come and always try and play with the baby, and she'd always be a bit freaked out, you know, because he's loud and all the facial but he never gave up, always gave it a good go, crawling around with her. And
yeah, that's what made him special. He was so honest. Hate thing was
we went to Timor together just after Leonard Manning died, and I remember one of the shots that will stick with me for the rest of my life was Ewen playing with the kids of East Timor. He was, they had a rugby ball. Ewen doesn't play rugby, Ewen doesn't do any sport, but he picked up this ball and he was throwing it to these kids. Kids didn't know what a rugby ball was, and he was showing them how to do it. And as I remember the documentary that we shot, there was Ewen in slow motion, and this huge smile on his face as this uncoordinated Westie hair floating was throwing this ball around, and cut to the kids, and the look on their face was just amazing, just warmth and love. And that was the sort of bloke that Ewen truly was. He was just a lovely guy. Yeah.
They all truly loved him. Ewen Gilmour was beautifully shot by Grant Finlay and edited by Emma Zhao, and magic contributions from all of those people who loved Ewen so well. That's it for tonight. Thanks everybody for watching. On the day we lost a really good bugger. Ka kite anō, and a very good evening indeed.
The Westie, Ewen Gilmour. Tried hypnosis, didn't work for me. I still smoked. Of course, every time I had a cigarette, thought it was a chicken. Ladies and gentlemen, when I get voted into Mayor of Auckland Super City, I'm going to break Auckland up into 6 or 7 little districts. But there will be no Papakura.
I didn't know that